Hello, everyone. Welcome to Legal Noggin. We wanted to address some questions that come up from time to time, particularly about discrimination. This is something that I hear a lot about, obviously, in my type of practice, which handles a lot of employment discrimination type complaints. Frequently, we'll get questions about what is discrimination, and we can't really get into all the specifics about every type of discrimination that is out there right now. There's disability discrimination, gender discrimination, race-based discrimination, and some of those things. We'll get into some of that on future occasions. But what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit today is disability related discrimination. What is disability discrimination? Again, we can't be completely exhaustive in this program. And if you have questions and you want to speak to an attorney in your local jurisdiction, that would be important to do in order to determine whether or not you actually have been discriminated against on the job. And so, but what we want to try to do today is get into some specifics about disability discrimination, especially in the context of your working environment and things that you may want to do or you might want to do in order to make sure that you're doing things correctly in terms of work and how that a disability can affect the workplace itself. That is your disability. What is a legal disability? Sometimes I'll get calls about people who have been on workers' compensation, for example, and they've been out due to a work-related injury. And so while they're out recovering and rehabilitating, often there's a discussion going on between them and the employer about getting back to work. And this is where sometimes, like a workers' compensation attorney, may want to turn to an employment lawyer or litigation specialist in order to try to determine whether or not their client, the workers' compensation client, may need some assistance in getting back to work. Because what often happens is there's some tension sometimes in getting that individual back to work because there's a concept called reasonable accommodation that comes up. And what is reasonable is really sort of a factual determination. What I can tell you today is that if you're going back to work and you've been, let's say, on workers' compensation, or if you have some kind of a disability or a disabling condition, what you want to be sure to do is communicate with your supervisor, with your human relations or human resources department, and make sure that you're having those connections and those conversations about what your needs are. So many of the times when I get the call, it's after the individual has been fired and they're saying, "Hey, I don't know why they fired me. It seems like my performance went down. I started having discipline issues after I went back to work when we had a workers' compensation issue, and suddenly I'm finding myself being scrutinized." All of these types of things usually can be thwarted in some ways. In order to do that, you have to communicate directly with your employer about your needs. Now, it doesn't always mean the employer is going to do the right thing. And in some cases, the cases that we often hear about, the employer is in fact not willing to take those steps to interact with the employee regarding how they can be fairly and reasonably accommodated in the workplace. So that is a really important point that I try to make today. If you're sick, you have a serious health condition, you need family medical leave perhaps. Family medical leave is another subject we'll get into on another day as far as what the issues are that have to be, the qualifications, the prerequisites that have to be met. But if someone's been out on family medical leave, they're trying to get back into the workplace, or they're currently on like some type of leave and they're trying to stay in the workplace, and again, we'll get into some of the specifics on that at a future date. then often there are going to be questions and some tension, I call it, between the employer and the employee relationship because you're trying to figure out how to work this thing out. A good example would be a mobility issue. Often individuals with back disorders or back problems will say, I need an ergonomically correct chair or desk. And then the question becomes whether or not that's a reasonable request. Most of the time it is. Who should pay for it? How it should be handled and treated. Sometimes the employer will decide, hey, we're not going to provide this for you. We don't feel like it's reasonable. Or we're not going to place you in an environment here at the workplace that will assist you in that respect. And so that is where there are problems that arise and why you may want to contact an employment attorney to find out what your rights are. So I wanted to give some of you this brief discussion today about disability discrimination. We'll get back into it a little more specifically on other times. We may talk about retaliation as well. But one of the most important points that I wanted to make today is please remember to communicate with your supervisor, communicate with your human resource individual representative so that it's documented. Put it in writing so that you have a paper trail in the event that they decide they're not going to treat you fairly. At least you have something then that you can point to show that this was an issue that perhaps should have been handled differently. Please feel free to contact us if you ever have questions that you would like for us to answer. You can reach us at donhamlaw@comcast.net. That is an email that you can communicate to us, reach out to us. Our phone numbers are on our website, donhamlaw.com. Or you could reach out to someone local in your jurisdiction. I may not be able to assist everyone out there, but you can reach out to someone local in your jurisdiction that handles these types of matters. If you can't find someone, go to the local bar association and ask them for a referral. I'm sure they'll be willing to help you as well. Okay, this has been Legal Noggin. We hope that you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. We're going to continue bringing information to you as we can. All right, take care. We'll see you next time at Legal Noggin.